Hey group, so this big question of this lesson is essentially, where does our energy come from? Maybe a question we've never even thought of before, right? So here's what I mean when I say energy. I'm talking about, like, right now I'm talking to you and I can move and I can wave, I can wink, and everything we do requires an energy source, okay? It's gotta come from somewhere in order to do these things, just to move around. Again, we don't really even think about it. We just kind of do our thing, right? But I want to get you thinking about that. I want to get you thinking about, where does that energy come from to do all these things, okay? So the answer, most simply put, is we eat, all right? So, like, think about it, right? If you were to ever just go a day without eating, or if you maybe ever gone a day without eating, or 2 days, you start feeling really, really tired. So the simple answer is we get energy from food, right? We eat, and then ultimately we get energy. And that's why we eat all the time, okay? Because we constantly need energy. But that answer is not good enough for me, and I hope it's not good enough for you too, because, oh, we eat, we get energy, but, like, what's so magic about food? And, like, if I eat a rock, I don't get energy. Like, but why a burger or pasta? Like, what's going on inside some things that gives me energy, but not other things? Like, I want to go deeper, and that's kind of the whole point of this, right? This is the magic ingredient. There's this thing called glucose, okay, that is in our food. That's what we use for energy. Okay, that's what we can take into our body and ultimately turn into movement and sound. It's this magic process. And you're gonna hear sometimes glucose called sugar. And it's not the normal sugar you think of, like putting sugar on something. It's different. There's many different types of sugar. But glucose is this magic ingredient that it's inside all our food and gives us the energy. But the question again, where does this glucose come from? Okay, so I eat pasta, there's glucose there, but, like, where did it come from? What's so magic about pasta, all right? So let's take a closer look at our food, all right? So here is a person eating a hamburger, ketchup and bun and all that stuff, right? So if we look a little closer, let's say at the ketchup, which has tomatoes in it, like, all the nutritional value, all the glucose is coming from our tomatoes. All right, and let's take a look at our bun. If you look at our bun, like the wheat going on there, all the nutrition, all the glucose is going to be coming from our wheat. So we have a plant that's a tomato, a plant that is wheat. But then if we look at, like, the hamburger meat, that's not a plant, that's a cow, right? So in our meat, there's some nutrition and some glucose that we get that's actually from the cow, but we have to go deeper. If you look at the cow has to get energy too. So ultimately the cow is eating grass. So, like, the big message here is that all the glucose we get, whether we eat an actual plant-based substance or we eat a meat that ate a plant, it all comes from plants. All our energy, all our glucose, if you can trace it all back to plants, okay? Now, the reason is because plants can do this phenomenal process called photosynthesis. I mean, we can't do it. If they couldn't do it, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be surviving. So thank goodness that they can do it. So let's talk about it, ready? So what photosynthesis is, that every plant can do, is that they can make glucose, okay? Like with sugar/glucose, they can make it for us. There's 3 things they need to take in order to make it, all right? The first is that they have to take in water. They combine all 3 of these. They combine water, they take in carbon dioxide from the air that we're breathing out and they get from other sources as well, and the magic ingredient is sunlight. And it's hard to really fathom how insanely amazing this process is, but, like, plants can take sunlight and turn it into food. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, could you imagine us out there putting our hands out and we're really hungry, like, I'm just gonna go put my hands out and soak up some sunlight. I feel so full right now. Like, that's what plants do. They take sunlight, combine it with some other stuff, and all of a sudden magically they have food. Like, it's insane. So then we just basically said, thank you, plants, for making all that food, and we eat it, so then we get the glucose. They do all the work, we just kind of take it from them, or we take it from the animal that took it from them, right? So sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide make glucose, and what's really cool is they also, along with glucose, make oxygen, which is super helpful to breathe. So thank goodness for plants for making glucose and then also oxygen that we need. All right, so if we actually look at it, the full formula, these are called reactants, these are your products. Carbon dioxide and water and sunlight, mix them all together, and then we ultimately get glucose, this magic ingredient, and we also get oxygen. That's the formula for photosynthesis. Let's look a little closer now at what's going on in the plant, okay? It's not everywhere in the plant that this is happening. There's only one really main spot. So plants have lots of parts. They got roots, they got flowers, they got leaves, they got lots of stuff going on, okay? The roots, no go. Their main job is to soak up water, which we need, and other nutrients, but that's not really where the photosynthesis is happening. And then there's flowers, right? They're beautiful. But their main job is reproduction. they don't really have a whole lot of photosynthesis going on there too. And the way you can tell is they're not green, which is going to make sense in a little bit. Your leaves, that's your winner. Like picture leaves, like what they really are for a tree is they're little mini solar panels. The same ones you put on your house to soak up sunlight. They have these little flat solar panels that take up the sun and they turn them into food. So your leaves are where most of this process happens. And because, if you actually again look a little closer, if you look into leaves now, you'll see that leaves have a bunch of cells because it's a living thing. And in particular, they have these. They're called chloroplasts. So inside cells, there's all different parts, nucleus, ribosomes, and things like that, right? But your chloroplast, this is what's inside of your plant cells, and that's what does the soaking in and the absorbing of the sunlight. This is the organelle, it's called. The little organelle that does all this photosynthesis, all right? And what's cool is that they can actually move around a little bit. Like, if there's sunlight in a certain area, they can actually move around the cell, which is really cool. So these little green guys that you can probably see moving around here, these are your chloroplasts. Plant cells have them, we do not. If we had chloroplasts, maybe we can make our own food, but if you look at our cells, they're not there. They're only in plant cells. And I have one last thing to tell you. There's this chemical that's inside of a chloroplast, okay? It's called chlorophyll, and it's really easy to get these mixed up, okay? But your chloroplasts are little thingies that soak up the sunlight, and chlorophyll is more like the chemical or the pigment that is responsible for soaking it up, okay? They're the reason that plants are green, okay? That's why if you look outside, you'll see lots and lots of green color out there because there's so much chlorophyll, so much pigment that's out there soaking up the sunlight. All right, so this is photosynthesis in a nutshell. So to kind of, summarize the main stuff here, the only reason that we're able to have any energy at all is because we get glucose from our food, which ultimately comes from plants, which they ultimately get from stuff around them, carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight, okay? Thank goodness for plants, and thank goodness for photosynthesis.